Hey guys, this is Frozen here, and I just want to make a quick message about my haters. And I'm sure you guys know that my haters are everywhere now, and they're really getting worse and worse and more toxic. So yeah, here's a message to my haters. Can you please leave me alone for once? Just ignore me. If you don't like my actions, then just ignore me. You don't have to just attack me. You don't have to just cyberbully me and then how do I say this? And then force my own friends to hate me, like VHS DVD and Blues me acquired and I can't defend 2004, and saying that you wish people will cut ties with me. Well, guess what? It's not gonna happen. No one's gonna cut ties with me. So yeah, just ignore me. Stop forcing people to hate me. It's not illegal, you know. And my haters act like they wanna kill me or something. So yeah, please avoid my haters at all costs for those who are supportive of me, and continue to support me and support me as much as you want.
Who do you think you are? Really?
We are supposed to be the good guys.
We are.
Hey guys, it's the Menace, aka MODOK Knows Where You Live here, and since the Harry Thomas and Trolls Will Tour fan video has been the most watched video on my channel, I guess it's time we made a follow-up video, this time on a completely different user. And oh boy, have I been waiting for the day to when I get to talk about Frozen Things Studios. Now, to those of you who are completely unaware of who Frozen Things Studios is, he is a YouTuber who is mostly known for making movie reviews and trailer-style edits. He's mostly known for liking the movie Frozen 2, a movie I cannot get into, but everyone else can. Now, depending on who you ask, he's also been pretty infamous to some YouTubers, whether it be for his shady actions to some really messed up stuff he did outside YouTube. And just like with two other YouTubers I've talked about before, I used to know the guy back when he was a small channel, so I guess I should provide some context as to how I used to know him. It all started with this one YouTuber that goes by the name of Inside Out Fan 2001. A YouTuber who was very infamous for disrespecting opinions as well as his handling of real-life situations. But despite all this, he was still able to gain as many fans, with most people putting up with his immature behavior and his need to go, I'm gonna murder him with my Kylo Ren lightsaber and stab him in the chest. One of those fans who, for privacy reasons, we're just gonna call him Mr. Jovin. So, Mr. Jovin was just this average YouTube commenter who would always comment about his passion of movies towards Inside Out Fan 2001. And judging by his character, you'd probably think he wouldn't turn into a toxic individual, right? And then the year 2020 happened. Now, I bet we all remember how bad that year was, but in the case of Inside Out Fans community, this was a whole different story. There was this guy who went by the legendary name P-Star007. He was infamous for constantly calling Inside Out Fan racial slurs, making a fake Harry Thomas account, and allegedly sending his goons to say negative things about his videos. However, this did not go well with his fans, with various people trying to either compare him to bad things, make useless videos out of him, and even death threats at one point. They weren't even trying to stop him. They were just giving him more attention that they claim he doesn't deserve. So when there was word on him being a troll, it was mostly ignored by his fan base, either because of more troll baiting, one guy in particular trying to defend Inside, or Frozen 2 fan making outrageous claims that he's being attacked by P-Star defenders. So after what felt like months of troll feeding, I decided to make a video on Inside Out Fan appropriately titled It All Comes to an End, where I not only discuss Inside for the third time, but also the whole P-Star situation in one segment. So you'd think after that, everybody would take the L, right? In another desperate attempt to stop Two-Eyed Mike Wazowski troll, Nick Hicks made an extreme rant on P-Star. In the comments sections, Frozen 2 fan makes yet another jab at P-Star defenders, so I decided to ask him on who he was referring to when he calls them P-Star defenders. And oh boy, does he reveal his true colors. Basically, he manipulated the whole situation. The P-Star defenders that were attacking him were really just calling him out for troll feeding, and he makes the point that we go after him And he even made a threat to me and a YouTuber named Ems that we should stop giving him attention or else he'll make a rant on us. This would result in the both of us not liking him anymore, as well as Ems going after Frozen. I would talk about the Ems versus Frozen saga, but admittedly this stuff is pretty old, so if you'd like the gist of it, I suggest you watch this video right here, link in the description. And that is how manipulation and a troll got me to dislike him in the first place. Now you're probably asking yourselves, beyond just old drama, why do I dislike Frozen Things Studios and continue to make videos about him like he's the worst YouTuber ever? Let's find out.
It is so boring.
One of my biggest problems with Frozen Things Studios is his bland and tedious content. Now you might be asking yourselves, Menace, what's wrong with his videos? There's no clickbait, they all seem legitimate, so what's the problem here? Well, look no further than the runtime. Just watching a single video from him, and I'm already lost in what he's trying to convey. He is so incredibly boring, and he puts no effort into any of his videos. The best he comes up with is putting a still-framed image of the poster, as well as a 10-second long intro. Other than that, though, he brings nothing new to the table. Not even Frozen himself sounds invested, as he has the same lifeless performance throughout each and every single one of his videos.
Hey guys, this is Frozen Things Studios here, and welcome back to another video. And today, I am going to be doing a rant on Spy Kids or...
Yo, I'm gonna let you finish, but ding dong.
Oh yeah, and it's very apparent that he doesn't script or edit any of his videos out. From the constant pauses, to the stuttering, to going off topic, to the poorly structured points. And whenever he does provide a point in some of his reviews, he goes on and on and on about it, which adds to the unwatchability factor of Frozen's videos. Oh yeah, and let's not forget the big old cherry on top of his background noise being extremely distracting. From the screaming kid in his Oppenheimer review.
But anyways, yeah, oh my god. Sorry guys, yeah, I am out there right now. Sorry about that guys, screw the screaming kid.
And of course, the fan. Stuff like this is why I prefer Trolls World Tour fan and Harry Thomas's reviewers. At least they didn't bore me to death, and at least I can get where they're coming from, unlike Frozen. But if I was to give Frozen some constructive criticism, he should script his videos more often and rehearse, that way he knows what he's talking about. Edit some of the boring stuff out, that way his viewers don't do it for him, and learn how to use the editing software better. There is so much more you can do with it than just the still-framed image. There. Those are all my constructive criticisms for him in order to improve. Although I highly doubt he's watching this, considering what I'm about to mention later.
I have to bring it up. Gwen Stacy in this movie is freaking woke.
I should have said this a while back, but I'm not the biggest fan of Trolls World Tour fan. Even if I do enjoy his channel out of irony, that still doesn't make me forgive a lot of the dumb stuff he does every now and then. But I'm starting to appreciate him a lot more because Frozen and his buddies take the hatred for him way to the extreme, proving that not everyone who hates him is in any way better than he is. Like Margarito255, who makes unnecessary user-based videos out of killing him. Or how about Frozen's boyfriend, who unironically calls him a man-child, but out of everybody in that community, he should not be talking.
That's right, Harry Thomas. Who gives you the right to speak when you go after my remakes and dare to bully anyone for doing their job? Oh, but I'm the bad guy, right? Because I'm trying to do what's right for my studio. You know, this couldn't have happened if you just stopped watching the remakes. But no, channeling your priorities is irrelevant to you, right? More views and clickbait for me. Because that's what my channel is all about now. Clickbait. Because quantity over quality is my studio's motto now. Ha ha!
And then there's Frozen himself, who just gets on him for breathing, and yeah, that's about it. One of the most common misconceptions that I've heard from him and his fans is that he only hates on Frozen 2 just because he likes it. And while it might be true on the surface, because why again does he hate Harry Thomas and Shea Frillas? But as someone who has watched his channel for a while now, I'll tell you that this isn't really the case. While it is true that he liked the movie initially when it came out, he didn't start hating the film until 24 Frames of Nick made that video of his. He made a reaction video to it 4 years back, And just like with his Toy Story 4 at the Oscars video, he decided to change his score of the initial film from a positive score to a negative score. Not so much for petty reasons, but more so to appeal to Nick as well as his fan base. And trust me, this isn't the first or last time he's done anything like this. Funny how most of the Frozen community mention this just so they can discredit him, yet nobody mentions the part that Frozen hated his take so much, he literally wanted him dead after that. Yeah. Why are people still friends with him? And it's not like him and his buddies have any biases of their own. Frozen has accused Trolls World Tour fan of beating the dead horse on Across the Spider-Verse, yet he will never shut up about Illumination, Paw Patrol, or the Trolls movies. Or what about Frozen's boyfriend, Harry Thomas Pictures? He's called out Alex for hating on any film that dares to rival Ralph Breaks the Internet, yet he says some pretty interesting stuff sometimes. What was one of the reasons he hated Mission Impossible 7?
Oh, and minus points for getting better reviews than Barbie. Thank heavens Barbie kicked this movie's ass at the box office. So we can be civil about opinions, am I right, guys? And to those who like this remake better than the original, they seriously need help, because they can't tell the difference between a good movie and a bad one.
Yeah, you're starting to see the issue here? But I think I've saved the worst for last. Do you guys remember that Shea Frilla's car accident that happened this year? Well, this guy had the brilliant idea to turn a YouTube tragedy into a fan fiction. A revenge fan fiction. And in that whole fan fiction, one of the biggest plot twists was that the tragedy was all caused by Trolls World Tour fan. Yeah, that's actually something that happens in the story. He just cannot let go of his hate for the guy. And the worst part about it was that there was nothing but praise for that fan fiction. There was a massive uproar when Alex gave his condolence to Shea Frilla's but refused to watch his channel, yet none of that energy was committed with Frozen's fan fiction. Overall, Frozen takes his hatred for the guy way too seriously, and just like with Trolls World Tour fan, he needs to go outside and touch grass at some point.
And once again, this movie literally repeats almost all of the mistakes that the first two movies make. They just continue to make the exact same mistakes.
Irony! Another reason as to why Frozen Things Studios is infamous to some people is that he cannot take criticism. Just like my previous entry, he will often make excuses in order to prevent himself from taking criticism. But Frozen Things Studios will go as far as to not only manipulate his fans, but also lie and make the people criticizing him make them look like the bad guy. And while I don't have an extensive roster of people who've criticized him, they serve as a pretty good reminder on the guy that we're dealing with right here. So, does anyone remember Lilypad? No? Well, she's pretty important for this story. She's the first to fall victim to this guy. So after a bit of drama, Lilypad went out of her way to criticize this guy in a very civilized manner. But because Frozen is so allergic to taking an L, how do you think he handled the situation? Well, not only was he very hostile to her, but he also sent death threats and racial slurs. And for someone who got exposed for being racist towards Russian people, this hasn't really aged well for him. Or what about Pop Rock? She criticized Frozen for various things like his animation bias, and in response, Frozen said that he doesn't take criticism from a child. Oh, and did I mention that she's also a hated member in the Frozen community? But by far the most recent one has to be Tao Gaming. When Frozen got on somebody for hating on South Park, Tao told him that it was just his opinion. The two got into an argument until Frozen made a post directly hating on him. And the thing is, he didn't do anything to deserve this. These three cement the fact that Frozen can't handle any criticism. And before anybody says that this is past shaming, some of this stuff is very major, and this is the same guy who will get on people like Trolls World Tour fan for their past.
He did on our breaking purpose.
Yeah, says the guy who hated Frozen 2 on purpose just to trigger me.
So the whole it's in the past argument isn't an excuse. Frozen Things Studios has a massive bias towards animation studio Illumination Entertainment. Now, if I'm being perfectly honest with you, I really do not hate Illumination. Yes, their filmography is not on par with other animation studios, but they made a few that I've actually liked, and some of their weakest efforts are either bad to a pile of mediocrity. However, I never agree with most of the criticism towards them, as it's often overshadowed by people's bias towards other animation studios. Why is it that Illumination's marketing is considered a sin, yet it's a common practice with Disney, Pixar, Sony Pictures Animation, DreamWorks, and even Blue Sky, who have been doing this prior to their existence? But as a professional critic, he's not at all fair to the studio, as indicated by how he treated Sing 2, Minions The Rise of Gru, and the upcoming Despicable Me 4. The latter half, he has purposely said that he wants the studio to make a bad movie just so they can shut down, all because he doesn't like their movie. Not only that, but he gets mad at the stupidest things regarding the studio. Like when he got mad over a Sing Easter egg in his Secret Life of Pets rant.
But you know what scene really made me rage the most? Like, there's a scene where Max and Snowball were driving this bus, and on the back of the bus, there was a poster for Sing. Illumination, are you serious? That is a stupid move to advertise your movies in your next movies, movies like.
Look, I know Illumination's Easter eggs are the opposite of subtle, but I'm sure you can go through the entire movie without knowing that you need to buy a ticket for their next movie. Or how about that other time where he got salty because Scarlett Johansson won a Kids' Choice Award for her performance in Sing 2? Yeah, that's how much his hatred for the studio goes. But I know what everyone is going to say. Oh, Menace, what about the Mario movie? I'm sure that movie will show him that Illumination can make more than just the Minions stuff. Sadly, we do not live in that reality. When the movie was first announced, he was originally hating that movie and said it was going to ruin Mario. His change of heart didn't happen until Anya Taylor-Joy was casted as Peach. Yeah, not the quality of the movie, not the fact that Nintendo was also involved with it, but because of the celebrity that he simps off to every day. Not only was it the only thing he was excited for, but he even said that Anya Taylor-Joy was saving Illumination.
I totally trust Anya Taylor-Joy will do a good job as British speech, and she will be the one to save Illumination. Not Illumination themselves, not the writers, but Anya Taylor-Joy will save Illumination.
Yeah, it's not like Illumination is making a movie that appeals to me. No. It's simply for one actress that I actually admire. Keep in mind, this is the same guy who's gotten on the Sing duology and Paw Patrol the Mighty movie for having a celebrity cast. But as soon as Anya Taylor-Joy joins the Super Mario Bros. Movie, then all of a sudden she's saving Illumination? Yeah, where's the logic in that? And even if he likes the Mario movie and it proves to be a success for Illumination to make more out of, he's still gonna treat the studio like garbage, all because they treat Despicable Me like it's the next Ice Age. Despite the fact that Blue Sky is ranked higher on his tier list. But clearly consistency isn't his strong suit though, right? Say, this whole Frozen mistreating Illumination is a perfect segue into my next point about him. Ever since a little mess of the controversy back at the Oscars, it seems that the Frozen community wants to insist that, oh yes, animation is indeed cinema. But out of everybody with that stance, the Frozen community is the least trustworthy, as they have a good history of being disrespectful to animation, with two of their current members being a big offender to this. While it is true that Frozen does have his taste in animation, whether it be for Disney, Pixar, Netflix, and Sony Pictures Animation, he's also been known to treat animation like crap sometimes. Like when he deems some animated movies for babies, him casually celebrating Scoob Holiday Haunt when it was almost finished, and let's not forget the time he trashed the Scoob project, not because of the AI voices, but because its animation isn't on par with Disney and Pixar. Yeah, respecter of animation, everyone. There seems to be an unwritten rule in the Frozen community that if an animated film dares to be fun and harmless, then it's inferior because it's not following the success of Frozen 2 or Spider-Verse. And I really don't buy into it, because it makes them look snobbish, and I really just don't like the idea that every animated movie needs to be mature and sophisticated in order for it to be cinema. Here's an idea. If we want to treat animation more as a medium and not a genre just for kids, maybe we should be more open-minded. Not everybody is interested in trying to surpass Disney or Spider-Verse. And if we lived in that realm where everybody was trying to do that, then it'd probably be as creatively stagnant as the superhero genre right now. Oh, but don't worry, Frozen's not the only one that's getting called out for this. I present to you, the last and final time that I mention him, Harry Thomas Pictures. As you can tell, I'm not a big fan of Harry's angle towards animation, and at times it seems like he's doing more harm than good. Take, for instance, you know that greedy Mickey Mouse character he likes to throw around? You know, the one that symbolizes how Disney is soulless and greedy and only cares about the success of these remakes and not so much the audience reception. Well, I can't help but feel like I'm seeing double right here because Harry Thomas is not at all different from the greedy Mickey character. Why is it that he can criticize Mickey for being obsessed with nostalgia when he benefits off the success of these remakes, and the only point he brings up all boils down to, it sucks because it's not the original? Look, I'm perfectly fine with people not liking the Disney remakes, but Harry Thomas is missing a perfect opportunity to just skip out on these remakes and go watch the original on Disney+. I'm sure that'd be more worth his time than him bullying the directors and giving them unwanted lectures, as well as succumbing to a corporation that doesn't really care for him.
Not gonna lie, there's some pretty sexist implications here. Think about all the people he's demonized. Jon Favreau, Guy Ritchie, Robert Zemeckis, David Lowery, Walt Thorne. You are a particularly anti-male channel, Larry, so don't be surprised when people point out how sexist you are. Ha ha ha! That's also not mentioning that you are pretty safe with Nikki Caro, the director of my Mulan remake. I wonder why you didn't bash her. It's not like if you actually did, then people would point out how sexist you are. I mean, as we all know, if a man does something bad, then you'll put a grudge on them and demonize them to high hell. But if a woman does something bad, then you'll bend down and defend her. This is especially prominent with what you did with Amber Turd and Rachel Zeglar. And to those accusing the remakes of treating the original like a joke, let's see how those people would react knowing that you made a living off of those, Harry. Wow, for someone who's trying to stop me from making them, you validate me to make even more. And to prove my point, I can't wait to remake Snow White in 2025 and see you call Mark Webb a bad person. Because to quote your Mission Impossible 2 review, you put action above heart. Because to quote your Mission Impossible 2 review, you put action over heart. So anyways, see you in 2025, Harry.
Oh yeah, and I like how Harry criticizes Disney for not putting effort and care into original projects, yet he cowers out A Strange World and doesn't review it, instead prioritizing to overhype Avatar 2, as well as review the Enchanted sequel, Disenchanted. It's like Harry Thomas is trying to prove Disney's point in that they can't be original for once. Not only that, but ever since he started becoming friends with Frozen, his influences on him have started to become noticeable. Case in point, I did not like his Band Together rant. Not because of an opinion, but I question if he even watched the movie, because he gets various names wrong in that video, like saying Branch instead of Branch, saying the brother character instead of John Dory, and his point about Velvet and Velvet and Velma is suspiciously similar to Frozen Things Studios' point about them.
Velvet and Veneer has got to be the worst show's villains, yes. And from their motivation, they're basically a ripoff of Ernesto de la Cruz from Coco.
And Velvet and Velma, the so-called villains, I don't think I can even qualify them as villains because they're that bad, and they are just trying so hard to be Ernesto de la Cruz from Coco, and how they try and steal and take the credits for somebody's fame and success.
It is not lost on me that Harry Thomas really does not understand business, as indicated when he says very childish things like, DreamWorks betrayed us, Or my personal favorite,
Sony, you are officially the most inconsistent, untrustworthy animation studio, period.
Harry, you do realize these companies aren't your friends, right? They're not someone you can pal around with and talk about anything. They're a business. They need that money in order to support their jobs and their families alike. And in the case of Trolls Band Together, what in the world were you expecting? Of course they were going to make another one, as indicated by the success of Trolls World Tour on VOD. So why are you surprised by that and wanting to demonize DreamWorks over this one movie you claim you don't like?
You are back to square one. Oh, aren't you overreacting? I mean...
But what do I expect from the same guy who defends Warner Brothers out of spite for Disney when they are equally as toxic as they are? As indicated when they went behind Snyder's back to reshoot Justice League during a tragedy.
Sony are actually fucking bastards. They really fucking are. Jesus Christ, though. Look,
I know, right? First they ruin the Sam Raimi trilogy, then they get Spider-Man 4 cancelled in favour of a reboot, then they ruined Amazing Spider-Man 2.
I think we can all agree Warner Brothers are Disney's biggest rivals, and some things that I say they do even better than Disney. At least they're not remaking all of their movies and becoming a empire that will crush all competition in the movie industry, as Palpatine would put it. I will never turn away from Warner Brothers. I will support them through thick and thin. I don't give a shit that this studio has more controversies surrounding it than any other right now.
Also, you are not one to talk about Trolls World Tour fan overpraising these movies. You are the same guy who's been overpraising Barbie, and you've been mentioning the same 3 movies each new video you make. So I don't want to hear a single peep about how bad Trolls World Tour fan is. Also, he keeps calling Trolls World Tour fan a man-child. I guess Harry Thomas's lack of self-awareness is an indicator for his decline in quality.
But for some reason, people keep seeing them, and that gives Disney the wrong impression that we want these remakes when we don't. Money, 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 money!
Oh yeah, and it's not like the Frozen community's animation bias can really go against them. Frozen and Harry claim they don't like kiddish stuff, yet they're fine with jokes like this.
Screw you, Poppy. Oh, sorry, I tried to say Poopy.
The Meg 2! The Trench, oh sorry, the Meg 2, the Turds. So, Trolls 3, Band Together, or Turd 3, Butt Hurt Together.
Oh yeah, and there are times where Frozen has had some very questionable tastes in animation, particularly with SpongeBob and Ruby Gillman Teenage Kraken. Yes, I am aware of the adult fanbase of SpongeBob, and there are adult jokes in the older seasons. But at the end of the day, the show is very lighthearted, and continuity and logic is constantly thrown out the window. So I don't get why Frozen likes that show very much. And then there's Ruby Gillman. The Frozen community like writing off films like The Secret Life of Pets for ripping off other movies, but Ruby Gillman is here, and it's essentially just turning red but with Krakens. Overall, it's people like Frozen and Harry Thomas Pictures that make me think that maybe the Oscars shouldn't be the only ones looked down upon for disrespecting animation. And last, and most certainly not least, he is a very bad friend. I'm not kidding with you guys when I say that Frozen Things Studios has done some very manipulative things outside YouTube. And why some of his community members choose to ignore this is a mystery to me. There are countless of times where Frozen has been a negative influence toward his friends, whether it be forcing Luigi Marinus Gaming to put a new movie as his #1 favorite movie of all time, and then later get on him for vice versa, or how about with Kyleville Animation and how he changed his gacha series from Kyleville to Frozenville? Or how about the times that he butts heads with Mitchell as well as the other Frozen community members for what they post on social media? Yeah, quality friend everyone. But by far the worst and the most infamous case of Frozen influence would have to be Nick Hicks' 2001. Back when him and Frozen were friends, his channel started to take a bit of a nosedive. The biggest red flag that this was Frozen's doing and not Nick Hicks was when he rejoined YouTube and his channel started to become more Frozen 2 related. It was also very obvious that this was Frozen's doing because whenever Nick Hicks would make a video that wasn't Frozen 2 related, then he wouldn't like the video. So it's very obvious that this was Frozen's doing. But do you guys want to hear another blatant example of Frozen's influence towards Nick Hicks? Nick Hicks used to love the movie Scoob just as much as he did Frozen 2. But when Frozen Things Studios heard about this, he forced him to hate Scoob just so he could love Frozen 2 even more. Yeah. Why are people still defending him? Not only that, but it seems like Nick Hicks has started to absorb the more sussier aspects of Frozen. For a bit of context, Frozen has a massive obsession with female crushes in the media, which isn't a bad thing, but the way he does it is a little creepy. Like how he overuses the drool emoji to the point that it becomes cringeworthy. How about the fact that he simps to a bunch of underage girls like Asha from Wish and Goldilocks from Puss in Boots 2? Or how about the fact that this dude has so many girlfriends, you forget this dude has a girlfriend of his own. Oh yeah, there is something interesting to note about one of his girlfriends. Last year, he dated a girl named Phoebe Sinaga, which, despite people questioning whether or not she's real or a puppet of Frozen, at the time, she was 14 when they were dating. And let me remind you, Frozen was 18. Yeah, that's giving out a lot of mixed signals right there. That, and it can be argued that Frozen only likes a female character not because of how they're written, but because on how hot they are. And I kid you not, there are times where Frozen has criticized media based on if the women in it weren't hot. For an example, in his She-Hulk Attorney at Law rant, he criticizes the show just because Jen Walters wasn't hot.
Plus, she's not even hot, man. Like, I know people wouldn't like me criticizing that, but that's the truth. I just don't think she's hot. I mean, she just tries way too hard to be hot, but she's not.
I bring this up because some of this suggestive content from Frozen got to Nick Hicks as well. In his Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker review on Letterboxd, he criticizes Zori Bliss solely because she wasn't hot. Which, if you ask me, criticizing a character based on whether or not they were hot is really stupid in my opinion. And despite the fact that the Frozen members all collectively hate on a Netflix movie that I will not name drop, but I think was about talking oranges revealing their true selves, Nick Hicks seemed perfectly fine showing a sexualized picture of Gwen Stacy from Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, and he seemed perfectly fine simping for a kid version of Raya from Raya and the Last Dragon.
And young Raya could sexy for a young girl. So anyway.
That, and he seemed perfectly fine having inappropriate content on social media. Like when he supported a Frozen fan comic about Anna and Elsa having a same relation love, as well as an R-rated My Life as a Teenage Robot movie, and it has a picture of Jenny in a suggestive pose, which, hey, Nickety Hicks, you do realize that Jenny's a minor, right? I mean, the show isn't called My Life as a Teenage Robot for nothing. And speaking of Teenage Robot, we had this one time Nick Hicks defended a very saucy parody of the show, and he called out people for overreacting to it just because they were trying to make the show for adults. But here's the thing though, Nick. There's a difference between adult innuendos in cartoons and straight up what Nick is defending is straight up about a teenage robot indulging in an untimed and inappropriate rock party. Also, Nick, if you're really confused if this is the real thing, it's not. It's basically just a parody of an early season 2 episode where Jenny takes a backseat to Skyway Patrol and she's left just tackling these rock monsters who keep getting in her way. The original creator was all like, oh yes, let's take that scene of Jenny getting her brain open and try to make it even more saucier as possible. Oh yeah, and if you're confused on people calling this canon, it's basically alluding to the fact that these corporations are abusing the copyright system because they can't tell the difference between what's in the actual show and what's fan work. So Nick, please don't fall victim to this. And now we've reached recent times where despite there still being sus content and Frozen is still getting a lot of subscribers, he's been gutted now thanks to Kyleville Animation and Nick Hicks all leaving him for good in June of this year. And Nick Hicks did change that adult My Life as a Teenage Robot movie into a much more lighthearted movie. So I really hope that Nick Hicks has turned himself around and started a new leaf without the involvement of Frozen Sims Studios. And to everyone else who has left the Frozen community for good, I really hope this teaches you to be more mindful on who you trust on the internet. And who knows, maybe more people will see the true side of him and call him out, and maybe he'll have to actually improve as a person instead of lying and making bullshit claims about his haters just so he can play the victim card. Or not. Yeah, probably not.
Change the world. My final message. Goodbye.
Hey, wake up, wake up, wake up!
What?
Hey, have you not heard that scuttlebutt?
Your butt.
No, the gossip, the buzz.
In conclusion, Frozen Things Studios is just a bad YouTuber. From his boring content to his inability to take criticism, and the fact that he abuses his friends makes me question why people are still friends with him. And after a month of filming this video, I think I'm going to take a break from these types of videos. And while I do expect a response from him and his wife's boyfriend, all I know is that they're not going to improve and they're not going to change their actions, so I don't see the point in making a follow-up video right now. So anyways, see ya guys.
Oh, praise be sung you scream. We don't talk about Bruno, no. We don't talk about Bruno. He told me my fish would die the next day. They told me I'm gonna cut it just like he said. Oh no, he said I grew a beard and I had looks small. Young praying a prophecy's a thing. He told me that my life was a dream. That the prophecy shall be mine. He told me that my power would grow like a great star rival line.
Oh boy, is Trolls World Tour fan, who I'm thankfully no longer friends with, he's gonna praise this as the holy grail of movies. Well, overpraising much.